Hi folks, welcome to your Planning Outlook. This updated on Tuesday the 29th of December. Hope your Christmas period is going well so far. Now this planning video is 7 or 8 minutes long but could be summed up by the first word on this page, and that quite simply is winter, because that's what we've got, good and proper, as we go through the New Year period and well onwards into January. The mountains extensively frozen and snow covered for the foreseeable future. I'll start off with this chart. This is a different one from what we often show. This is a temperature anomaly, and this is showing the departure from the long-term seasonal averages, and this over the 5-day period for the first 5 days of the new year. And across Western Europe, we're broadly seeing lower than average temperatures. So although you might well say it's seasonal with cold and snowy conditions in place in early January, it's interesting to note that we're a good 2 to 4 degrees or so below the long-term average for the start of January throughout a 5-day period as a whole. So a distinctly cold start to the new year is on the cards, and naturally what goes up comes down in the weather world, because there's some much milder conditions across the eastern side of Europe. Here the airflow coming up from the south, whereas we're getting it more or less from the north, and areas around the Black Sea and across Eastern Europe and into the western side of Russia are seeing above average temperatures by more or less the same amount. All things relative, but temperatures, say around Moscow, are 1 or 2 degrees above freezing, which compared to what they would normally expect would be several degrees below through this sort of time of year. If we were to take that chart a bit further eastwards out into the heart of Siberia, we would actually find some much lower than average temperatures again, all things relative to average, so there's plenty of cold further east across Russia, and if we do tap into a more extensive easterly wind, that could always find its way towards us in some form. It's the milder air just to the southeast of Europe, though, that needs watching in the sort of 10-day range of the forecast, because some of that could just start to get dragged in our direction, just lifting the values a little bit further down the line. Now I'll take you through the freezing level chart over the next week ahead, and it's a fairly simple picture really. It's sub-zero from low levels up most of the time, with the terrain extensively frozen and hard frost into the valleys and the glens, only thawing very marginally just in any sunlit lower slopes. Through Thursday daytime, maybe just you get to 0 Celsius up to say 600 metres or so, just as briefly less cold air just drags itself off the North Sea, associated with some snow and some sleet lower down. But still, it's extensively sub-zero across the mountains, and that sub-zero terrain will be around onwards through the weekend, barely lifting above freezing point at the lowest levels, and the mountains from lowest slopes upwards will be sub-zero. This through Saturday, quickly on into Sunday, and these low freezing levels do continue. If I take it on very quickly a day or so into next week, there isn't a great deal changing. Here's the precipitation type mosaic, and this the sort of coarse resolution view of where the areas of snow are over the next few days. And through Wednesday daytime, some showers and flurries coming into northern Scotland, a few bits and pieces coming into north and west Wales as well, hardly anything elsewhere. Maybe a few bits of showers just getting as far inland as central southern England, associated with a little frontal system that comes through there later in the day on Wednesday. Now Wednesday night into early Thursday, as the flow turns northeasterly, we drag some areas of precipitation in from the North Sea, and that extensively falling as snow over the eastern highlands into the Cheviots, the Borders, the Pennines. Some uncertainty just how extensive that becomes, but scope for a few hours worth of snow passing westwards across northern England, getting into North Wales too, across the Peak District for a time through Thursday daytime as well, it looks like. A bit sleety maybe at the very lowest levels, but across the hills it's all snow, so that's a fairly straightforward one. Through into New Year's Day, the flow is northerly, so it's northern Scotland that is in the firing line for snow coming down in showers from the north. A few bands of showers draped around east and western coasts of Britain, a few skimming into the western side of Snowdonia through New Year's Day. Becomes awkward for detail increasingly as we go onwards, but the message remains very similar. It's cold northeasterlies that prevail into the weekend, most of the snow focused around the Cairngorms, the Borders, the Cheviots, into the eastern side of the Pennines, occasionally passing further westwards as well. It's that easterly pattern that is likely to be around into next week, and you can see the idea of some snow coming in across central parts of England at times as well, all feeding in by that time on what looks like a strong easterly wind. Here's the snow depth chart, and this giving you the snapshot at any point in time as I scroll the chart through over the week ahead, and plenty of cover across the Highlands, across the southern uplands, the Pennines and Wales as well. Less of it across Cumbria, although bearing in mind again a bit of course resolution going on with the model, but suffice to say with that northeasterly wind, the Lake District tending to pick up on less in the way of snow, but it does fill in as we go through New Year's Eve, as that northeasterly does pull the snow westwards across northern England, as we mentioned. That through into New Year's Day. Plenty of snow cover across the mountains, at its greatest still across the northern side of the Highlands. Some fresh snowfalls coming in there by that stage. This through the weekend all stays in place across northern England, mostly across Wales as well. And just to take you on a few more days into early next week, you can see that by the 4th, 5th of January, there's still that snow cover expected to be on the ground. So what's there at the moment will be topped up and isn't going anywhere soon. Fairly straightforward synoptic charts for the next few days. That's how Wednesday's looking. Little frontal system skirting to the southwest. That's just bringing that area of rain, sleet and snow to southwest England and the far south of Wales through Wednesday daytime, and those few showers draped around some coasts elsewhere. There always tends to be a tangle of bits of occluded fronts in these sort of northerly episodes. They tend to not be that active features, but they can still bring that few hours worth of snowfall in across Britain on these northeasterly winds. That's how Thursday looks. That's that little feature coming in across northern England from the northeast by that stage. Got to watch the strength of the wind through Thursday. May just strengthen near to gale force at times across those highest tops, just as that northeasterly squeeze gets in. New Year's Day, all very similar. It's that focus on the northern side of Scotland, staying with that cold north to northeasterly pattern. Not a particularly windy day for New Year's Day, but if you're exposed on higher terrain, a significant wind chill factor will exist. Now, the detail is tricky by the weekend, but it's that cold northeasterly that prevails. Some areas of sunshine, some banks of cloud across some hills, focused across more northern and eastern districts. Best of sunshine typically further out west, and the scope for some further areas of snow just rotating in from the North Sea. Most places seeing relatively light winds through Saturday. Those winds look as though they strengthen as we head onwards into Sunday. East by northeasterlies, the idea of some snow, showers and flurries spreading inland from eastern coasts. So focusing themselves around the Cairngorms, across the Borders, the Lothians, the eastern side of the Pennines, and maybe a few coming across into the Peak District and North Wales too. The general outlook into next week does maintain those easterly winds. Where we go later in the week is uncertain, and just looping back to where we were at the start, it will depend if we just drag something less cold out of southeast Europe, but with a big block of high pressure to our northwest. There's nothing really coming in from the Atlantic for a good while yet, and if we do just get something squeeze around that high out of Scandinavia and the Arctic, then much colder conditions may just become established and continue well onwards into the middle of the month. Cold times ahead then as we go into the start of 2021. Here's wishing you all the best for the new year. We'll keep you right up to date as always here at MWIS. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.